I want to focus on a conversation that has dominated our spaces for the better part of this week. And this is all about the impending increase of fuel in the country. A lot of us are angry, a lot of us are wondering what's going to happen. But let's take you through this, because this is something that has been quite a number of years in the making. 130 shillings, the proposed cost of petrol on the 1st of September, in about 2 weeks. We'll be telling you more about it, because it's not just petrol, it's indeed all petroleum products. Now, like I said, this has been happening for the better part of 5 years. We've been kicking this can down the road for a very long time. So allow me to take you through this timeline from 2013 to date. But first, a little bit of a narrative. This all started in 2011. The Kenyan shilling was 107 to the dollar. Of course, that does a couple of things to our economy. So the Kenyan government goes to the IMF and says, we need what is known as a precautionary or standby facility that will be able to cushion us from the economic shocks regarding our foreign reserves in the country. And so the IMF says, well, you know, that's fine, we can give you that, but on a number of conditions. One of them including that there needs to be a whole reform regarding all the laws that deal with our taxes, so income tax, excise tax, and VAT tax. That is what leads us to our first date on this timeline. 2013 was when we passed the VAT Act and made it into law. IMF then went ahead and said, you want to borrow money, but you need to be able to pay it back. And as you know, KRA has had serious shortfalls in its revenue collection for a number of years. And they said, listen, you need to remove petroleum products from VAT exemption. In other words, slap 16% on all petroleum products. That's what happened in 2013. So we passed the law in that year, but then decided that we would give ourselves, or Parliament decided, to give us a transition period of 3 years. That takes us to the year 2016. But first, in between 2013 and 2016, this is what happened. We went ahead and signed a binding agreement with IMF to impose VAT on petroleum products. This was in a letter that was written by Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich to the IMF just about a week before that precautionary facility was granted to Kenya. It was about $688 million, or 69 billion shillings. So we make this commitment in 2015, but we say we're going to actually start charging that VAT in 2016. But what happens in 2016? Well, during the budget discussions in Parliament, Cabinet Secretary, excuse me, Henry Rotich comes and says, let's move it by a year. Parliament says, no, let's do it by 2 years. Excuse me, must be the high fuel prices that are getting my voice all caught up. Okay. It's the thought of it, really. So we say we're going to move it to another 2 years, and that brings us to 2018 September. This is where we are now, okay? So let's take a look at it. Like we said, it's not just petrol. This is the increase that you are looking at for a number of petroleum products. Petrol to go up by a whopping 17 shillings a litre, kerosene up by 12, diesel by 15. Now, this will not only affect these products, it will also affect LPG, that's your gas that you use in your cylinders, as well as aviation fuel. So, this is the letter I was referring to, and this is what Kenyans are saying is really angering them, saying we're going into being tied in by the IMF. This is exactly what he said in the letter, committing to abolish VAT exemption by 2016. Okay, so you're asking yourself, what does all of this mean? It is massive. First of all, it's pain at the pump. We all know this. So you will go in and you'll be spending 17 shillings extra on petrol, a little bit more, of course, on diesel. So you'll have to make some sacrifices, won't you? You'll either choose to not put your car on the road every day, but that money will have to come from someplace else. These are sacrifices we're all very well aware of. Of course, when there's pain at the pump, there will be a rise in transport costs. Already Simon Kimtai from the Matatu Owners Association saying, listen, Matatu fares are going to go up on September the 1st. This is a critical time. It's the start of the month. Your salary hasn't gone up, but the price of transport, the price of fuel is going up. And remember, it's back to school week, so there'll be a lot of transportation that'll be happening there. So the price of transport goes up. Remember, this affects every form of transportation. So you're thinking, you don't use a Matatu, you use Uber. Well, that could go up. They use fuel, don't they? It also will go up perhaps with airfare For a lot of people that like to fly to Mombasa, fly to Kisumu or Lodwar on those budget airlines, this is also going to be affected because it affects jet fuel as well. So as happens when there's a rise in transport costs, there's a rise in food. This food has to make its way from the farm to your plate. So imagine you're already paying more in bus fare, food is costing you more, and you're paying more for the food, and you're paying more to prepare the food. A lot of low-income households depend on kerosene for that. And remember, they don't have a cheaper alternative. What may have cushioned them? Charcoal, not available due to the logging ban. If it is on the black market, it's extremely expensive. In fact, I think the prices of charcoal have doubled. So this is extra pain. It's a double whammy for low-income households that pay more for food and are now paying more to prepare the food using kerosene. So what next is the question we've been asking. And at this point, we'd like to say we did send out requests to answer exactly this question to the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and to the PS. They all declined our request to come here and answer that question for you.